talk about making rosettes. So rosettes are sort of a Swedish recipe, I guess, and kind of an old-fashioned dessert. So basically, here's what you need. You need some type of rosette mold set, and you can see mine came with sort of a card theme and a butterfly, and today I'm using the snowflake because I'm making these for Christmas. So they're kind of fun. So the instrument has a wooden handle and the mold screws into there. Then you'll need the recipe, and there's tons of recipes out there. My recipe called for 1 cup of flour, 1 cup of milk, half a teaspoon salt, 1 to 3 teaspoons sugar, and I always put the 3 in, 1 egg, and if you want food coloring, I didn't use it, but what I did do was I added a little vanilla because I just find it tastes better. And then you'll need a medium pot with a flat bottom. And I used a combination of Crisco. I used these sticks of Crisco, and then I used canola oil. And you'll need about 2 inches of oil in there. And then you'll need some kind of thermometer, and a candy thermometer I always use. And what you want to do is you want to heat the oil to between 360 and 375. 365 is ideal, but sometimes it's really hard to get it there. So I just keep a watch on it and keep it. So you'll see that I have a bunch of them made over here. Aren't they pretty? So here's some of the key things. So here's your mold. You want to make sure that you keep it held by the wooden handle. If you touch the metal, it's going to be hot. So the first time you make this, you want to dip your mold in the oil, and that just helps it get it off. And then get all the excess oil off of it. And then you want to dip it in the batter. Now, one of the important things is you only want to dip it in not quite to the top of the mold, and I'll show you what I mean. See, I don't go over, because if you go over, it's going to be really hard to get off. And then you'll see I have a nice coating on it. And then I'm simply going to stick it in the oil, and I'm not touching the bottom. I'm just holding it, and it'll take about 30 to 45 seconds. And what you'll see is the bubbling of the oil actually starts to slow down as it gets cooked. And you can check it every so often. That's a little light, so I'm going to stick it back in. Don't leave it in too long. Okay, that's about right. It's kind of golden brown. And then you take it over to your sheet. I'm going to try to do this one-handed. And if it doesn't come immediately off, just use a little fork, kind of gently, and it'll drop off. And you'll see the back of it kind of looks pretty. And then I just flip it over and let the oil drain. You want to drain them really well. So I'm going to do it one more time. And you don't need oil at every time. About every other time I do it. So I'm just going to dip it in. And again, I'm only going to do part way up. And you'll see I got a nice coating. Stick it in. Now you can see my oil's getting kind of hot. It's up to about 378 or so. So I'm probably going to turn it down after this one. And you got to kind of keep an eye on it. If you don't have a stove that dials in, which I don't, I just have a normal stove. It's a smooth top. You'll have to kind of keep an eye on it. If you have a fancy stove and you can dial it in, that would be awesome. Okay, you can kind of see that's kind of slowing down. So I'm going to give it a little look-see. And that looks pretty darn good. Sometimes what'll happen is they will fall off into the oil. Oops, let me get this off. Okay, and you'll see the back of it looks very pretty. But this is actually the front of it. So if they fall off into the oil, I have a little slotted spoon. So don't panic if they fall off. You can just let it finish getting a little golden brown and then just scoop it out with the slotted spoon and put it on your sheet. Let me show you what happens if you go over the top of the mold. So I'm going to do this purposely. So I'm going to dip it all the way in. And this is what a lot of people do, and that's where it comes into problems getting it off. So here we go. Just stick it in. And it's frying away. What happens is the rosette actually puffs up. You can kind of see it puffs up. So if you go over the top, what happens is it puffs up and sort of seals itself around the rosette mold. So that's what makes it really hard to get off. So I'll show you what you have to do. At least this is what I do to get it off. Guess, you know, not always perfect, so sometimes things don't work real well. That's need about 10 seconds more. And you can see how it starts to not boil quite as much? Okay. So now what you're going to have to do, and again I'm going to try and do this one-handed, is you're going to have to kind of scrape it off. I'm going to put this down. There we go. Okay. You're going to have to kind of scrape it off. And that leads to a messy rosette, and that's why people get frustrated. So the key is don't dip your mold all the way in. Keep it, you know, just to the point of just up the sides, and then you should have no problem getting your rosette off. So once your rosettes are cooked, you can decorate them with powdered sugar, and that's what a lot of people do. I like to drizzle mine with a little white frosting, just powdered sugar and milk mixed together. And then I shake like sprinkles on them, or fancy sugars, or those types of things. It just makes it a little prettier, especially for Christmas. And you can see how I have to do this to get this rosette off. And if you're really careful, you can still save it. But yeah, there you go. But you can see what a pain that is to try and get that off. So that's, you know, what you want to do. So I hope you have fun making rosettes. I hope this has been a help, and I wish you all a happy holidays.